Hey, welcome everyone to this Sunday's edition of the Sunday Supper. I thank God for you being here with me this Sunday. Thank God that you all are well. Thank God that you took time out of your schedule to tune in to see what's being taught this week. And we have another wonderful lesson as we go through this period in time where Sunday Supper explores the Bible. There's been so many times where people have asked many questions and wanted to know things. And one of the advice we give to people is, go and study the Bible, go read your Bible. And many people find it hard to be able to truly understand it. So the Holy Spirit had placed in my spirit to be able to present this to you. And trust me, this is going to take it's going to take at least a year or more of us going through this whole Bible, especially with the teaching. So be patient, draw from it as much as you can. And trust me, you're going to gain value out of all this and information and clarity and being able to rightly divide the word of truth, as what we are supposed to do when we study the word of God. So sit back, relax, grab pen and paper. I'm telling you, take notes, take notes, take notes, because what happens in the beginning is going to make sense when it comes to the end. But you have to remember what happened in the beginning in order to know what happens or why it makes sense when it comes to the end. All right. So we are now in a period of where Noah and his sons and his wife and his sons' wives are able to have found dry land. And now they are exiting the ark or the ship. And now God makes a covenant with Noah. This is when we enter into the Noahic covenant. All right. So I want you to understand that. Now let's bring to the stage our scriptures, our reading. Let me go back one. So remember, at the end of last week, it's when Noah had exited the ark and the animals were exiting the ark. Noah had taken some of the clean animals. Remember, there were 7 of each of the clean animals and 2 of the non or unclean animals. So he had taken some of the clean animals. He had built an altar and he has sacrificed some as to give a burnt offering unto the Lord for what the Lord had done for him and his family, and actually for mankind and for all animals and everything. So he had made this altar and presented God with this burnt offering, and God loved the smell of the aroma and he found it pleasant and it was received. All right. And while he does that, the Lord says to his heart, he says, I will not again curse the ground anymore for man's sake, because the imagination of man's heart is evil from his youth. I will never again strike every living thing as I have done. While the earth remains, watch this, seed, time, and harvest, and cold, and heat, and summer, and winter, and day and night will not cease. So God is setting the ways of things in order here. You now have time to plant seed. There'll be time in between the time that you plant the seed and the time that it becomes a harvest, because man is now working. All right. So now, after that, he says there will be heat and cold. There will be times where it's going to be warm, and then there are times where it's going to be cold. He said summer and winter. We have seasons coming into play now. Now we have summer, winter, spring, fall, all those things. And then, day and night. These things will not cease. They will continue. So this is what we're dealing with right now. So now let us go to Genesis 9 and let's talk more about this covenant that he makes with Noah and as he presents it to him. So now God blessed Noah and his sons and said to them, be fruitful, multiply, and replenish the earth. If you remember, now with the with all the things that just happened with the flood and all that, now Noah and his sons' wives, all of them are now given the responsibility of replenishing the earth with people because everyone else is wiped out. And I know that sometimes we hear how people say that giants are still in the earth, how still have Nephilims among us. But if you remember, this is what God did. God punished the angels that slept with the women on the earth. Then he created the flood and wiped out all mankind because man's heart was evil and man was evil against each other and everything else. There was nothing but evil going on. But then he found Noah being a righteous man and he saved Noah and his family. So when people say that Nephilims and giants and stuff are still among us, well, that doesn't line up with what the text says. So that is one thing I want to bring up to you as we continue to study. Now, 9:2. The fear of you and the dread of you will be on every animal of the earth and of every bird of the sky. Everything that moves along the ground and all the fish of the sea are delivered into your hands. So now they have the fear of man. They are delivered unto the man as man continues to have dominion over these things. Man continues to be the authority of for all these animals and beings and things like that. Man is still God's most precious creation. So he places an order there. So then we come to now he says every moving thing that lives will be food for you as I've given everything to you. Now, this is the first time that God actually talks about um, things being or beings as far as animals and stuff as being food for mankind. Before it was just the green herbs and the vegetarian diet, or many would say vegan diet or whatever. But that was the original thing. But now, when it comes to Noah, as we come into the times of Noah and his sons, now God is allowing for them to partake of animals, the meat for food. And watch this. He says, but flesh with its life, that is its blood, you shall not eat, which means that the blood of an animal is a part of its life. So you shall not partake of those things. And people out here, you know, many people may eat rare meat and all these things. You're not supposed to do that. Simply because the blood is its life. That's a life form for you. Your blood is part of your life. Without blood, there's no life. So the life is in the blood. And that's going to continue over in the New Testament. I told you, hold on to these things. And it's life. So because when you eat the meat, they were supposed to make sure that there was no blood in it, because then there will be life. As I continue on, I will surely require accounting for you, life's blood. At the hand of every animal, I will require it. At the hand of man, even at the hand of every man's brother, I will require the life of man. Whoever sheds man's blood, his blood will be shed by man, for God made man in his own image. Again, so now what God is telling him is that there has to be, if you kill someone, if you murder someone, then your blood needs to be shed by man. You see what I'm saying? So we can look at it. Many would say eye for an eye or whatever, but it's blood requiring blood. if an animal killed a man, then that animal's blood needs to be shed also. It's the way that things were during this time. So, if Cain killed Abel, if it happened during this time, then Cain's blood would have had to have been shed. But we know that God spared Cain in that time, and he continued to allow for Cain to go and mark him so that he would not be killed, and there will be vengeance if anyone touched him. So now we're entering into a period now where is if you kill someone, then you have to die. Your blood has to be shed also. They say, as they say, live by the sword, die by the sword. So, all right. So again, he comes back and he reiterates what he says: be fruitful and multiply, increase abundantly in the earth and multiply in it. Multiply in it. These are the things that God was saying to Noah and his sons. I need for you to go out and I need for you to procreate, because we need to replenish this earth with people. So they were to go out, and their main mission was to repopulate the earth. So if we all could look at these things, what happened here, and we look at today, then we could see that somewhere down the line, way down the line, we're all related in some form or fashion, cousins, brothers, sisters, or whatever. And that's the way that God did it. All right. So God spoke to Noah and his sons with him, saying, as for me, behold, I will establish my covenant with you and with offspring after you. So it's Noah and the people that are coming after him, all these offspring, all these people that are coming after him. He's establishing a covenant. A covenant is an agreement, it is a binding agreement. All right. And with every living creature that is with you, the birds, the livestock, and every animal of the earth with you, of all that go out of the ship, even every animal of the earth, I will establish my covenant with you. All flesh will not be cut off anymore by the waters of the flood. There will never again be a flood to destroy the earth. So God is saying, look here, I will never create a major flood in which it will flood the earth and destroy all mankind. I will not do that again. I will not take or flood all the animals. I'm not going to start over, as we could say. He's not going to start over again and do what he had done before because of the evil of man. And we can see in today's day and time that there is a lot of evil happening in this earth. So 9 and 12, God said, this is the token of which the covenant which I make between me and you and every living creature that is with you for perpetual generation. This means for future generations. All right. I set my rainbow in the cloud, and it will be a sign of a covenant between me and the earth. Now, this is what we truly must understand here, because I think what happens in this day and time, we misinterpret or we take in confusion the sign of the rainbow, because now we believe that the sign of the rainbow that happened on the day in which same-sex marriage and all types of other things that happened or occurred in this nation, we took that as a sign of God being in agreement with it. But God is saying in this time, with this, he is setting a covenant. Listen to what I'm saying. The rainbow in the cloud was a sign of a covenant between God and the earth. God and the earth. This wasn't just a rainbow signifying, okay, now this part, I'm in agreement with. No, this is a binding agreement between God and the earth. I want you to remember that. And no, I'm not saying anything against same-sex marriage or anything like that. I'm just presenting to you the facts of the scripture. All right. So now, when I bring a cloud over the earth, that rainbow will be seen in the cloud. I will remember my covenant, which is between me and you and every living creature of all flesh, and the waters will no more become a flood to destroy all flesh. The waters will no more. They will no more become a flood to destroy all flesh. All right. The rainbow will be in the cloud. I will look at it that I may remember the everlasting covenant between God and every living creature of all flesh that is on the earth. So remember this rainbow. God loves it. He loves the sight of it. He said it there, and that was to be the sign that was between God and every living creature on the earth. Well, what covenant was this? This was the covenant of one man, Noah and his sons having dominion and authority over the animals. The covenant was that if a man killed another man, then that man must also have his blood shed. This was the covenant that man is now allowed to eat animals, but as he eat the animal, there must not be any blood in it because the blood is the life. So that as we call that a well done steak. So these are the things that you must remember. But again, this is the covenant between God, Noah and his sons, and all the animals at that time. All right, so God said to Noah, "This is the token of the covenant which I have established between me and all flesh on the earth. The sons of Noah who went out of the ship were Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Ham is the father of Canaan. I want you to make sure you remember this. Remember these parts. Ham is the father of Canaan. These three were the sons of Noah, and from these, the whole earth was populated. So, out of the four men, and four women that exited the ship or the ark, out of those four, they repopulated the earth. They were the beginning of it, of a new civilization at that point. They were the new paternal fathers of the human race at that point. So we know that Noah, for one, came in the lineage of Seth, which came from the lineage of Adam, but that was the right side of the sonship when it comes to having sons, and Seth being the replacement for Abel. All right, so now these three were the sons of Noah. And from these three, the whole earth was populated. Noah began to be a farmer and planted a vineyard. Now, this is where Noah gets himself into a little, as we call it, a little pickle, and pulls his sons into it. Well, not really, but you'll see. He drank of the wine and got drunk. So he planted a vineyard. He became a farmer. He drank of the wine that he made from the vineyard, and he got drunk. And he was uncovered within his tent. So he's in his tent. He's drunk, but he's naked. All right. Ham, the father of Canaan, saw the nakedness of his father and told his two brothers outside. Shem and Japheth. So we remember we had three brothers, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Shem and Japheth took a garment and laid it on both of their shoulders and went in backwards. So now they're walking into the tent, but they're not walking forward to be able to see their father's nakedness. So they're not seeing their father exposed during this time. So they walk in backwards. with a garment on both of their shoulders that they're having spread open because they're going to cover their father. And they covered the nakedness of their father. Their faces were backwards, and they didn't see their father's nakedness. They didn't see the exposure of their father. They didn't see any of the how do I want to put it, the inappropriateness of their father. They didn't see any of that. So Noah woke up from his wine and knew what his youngest son had done to him. He said, Canaan, remember, Ham is the father of Canaan. Now watch this. Canaan is cursed. He will be servant of servants to his brothers. Now, I want you also to remember that. If you have to take notes, please take notes, because all of this is going to come back and it's going to make sense when we get to that part of the Bible. All right. And he said, Blessed be the Lord, the God of Shem. Let Canaan be his servant. So now Canaan is to serve Shem. May God enlarge Japheth. Let him dwell in tents of Shem. Let Canaan be his servant. Now Noah is saying this again. Noah lived 350 years after the flood. All the days of Noah, how long did he live? He lived 950 years and then he died. So now, just to break this down again, because Ham went in and saw his father's nakedness, and as he saw his father's nakedness, he goes out and he tells his two brothers. But Ham never covered his father. So now at this point, you have Shem and Japheth, who walks into the tent backwards, having a garment draped across both of their shoulders, so they're holding it, and they walk in backwards so that they do not see the nakedness of their father. So now they cover him with the garment. His father wakes up, Noah wakes up, he knows what happens, and he curses Ham's son Canaan. And now says that Canaan will be a servant to Shem, right? He's going to be a servant to Shem. And then after that, now he tells Japheth that Japheth will dwell in the tents of Shem, but at the same time, he's going to enlarge Japheth. All right, so now, just like in the early parts of Genesis, now we're going through the genealogy of Noah, and it's a lot. All right, it is a lot. All right, so now this is the history of generations of the sons of Noah and of Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Sons were born to them after the flood. Remember, one part of the covenant was be fruitful and multiply. So the sons of Japheth, this is Japheth. This is the one who Noah sends the blessings of to be enlarged and to dwell in the tents of Shem. All right, he says his sons were Gomer, Magog, Madai, Javan, Tubal, and Meshech in Teres. The sons of Gomer, which is the son of Japheth. So now these would be Japheth's grandsons. The sons of Gomer were Ashkenaz, Riphath, and Togarmah. The sons of Javan, also Noah's grandsons, would be, or Japheth's grandsons, Japheth's grandsons would be Elisha, Tarshish, Kittim, and Dodanim. Of these were the islands of the nations divided in their lands, everyone after his language and after their family. So these grandsons, or the sons of Japheth, and their sons now have land of their own, and they create nations. So now we're going out and we're spreading things. Now they're starting to leave and are starting to move forward in the earth. This is part of that repopulation plan. All right. So now we get here. They have their nations, they have families, and after his language. All right. The sons of Ham were Cush. Remember, Ham is the other son. Cush, Mizraim, Put, and Canaan. But remember, Canaan is cursed. The sons of Cush, who we look at as Cush having land in Africa, that's what we that's one of the places we talk about. Were Seba, Havilah, Sabta, Ramah, and Septica. Now, a lot of names in the Old Testament, you're going to hear these names multiple times. But there comes a time where they're different people, not the same person, but names were common. Some names were common during these times. So many people had them, just like many people have the name Matthew nowadays, or Michael, or George, or Christopher. Those are common names. So a lot of people had these names, but you may refer to, say, Christopher Brown versus Christopher White. So they're different people. And if you talk about Christopher White, you don't want to confuse him with Christopher Brown. All right. So Cush became the father of Nimrod. This is another name I want you to remember because he is going to come up here soon. He began to be a mighty one in the earth. He was a mighty hunter before the Lord. Therefore, it is said, like Nimrod, a mighty hunter before the Lord. So, one of the sons of Cush is Nimrod. All right. The beginning of his kingdom, talking about Nimrod, the beginning of his kingdom was Babel, Erech, Akkad, and Calneh in the land of Shinar. Out of that land, he went to Assyria and built Nineveh, Rehoboth, Ir, and Calah, and Rezin between Nineveh and the great city of Calah. Mizraim became the father of Ludum, and Anamim, Lehabim, and Naphtahim. Petruism, Calushim, which is the Philistines, where the Philistines descended from. So this is where the Philistines descended from, the non-circumcised ones that David ended up having to fight and battle with. All right. So they all came from this lineage in Caphtorim. All right. So again, we're looking at this and we're looking at the line. We're looking at the line because remember, these are the sons of, or grandsons now, of Ham. And remember, Ham is the one that went into Noah and saw his nakedness, but instead of covering him, he went and told his brothers. So you can imagine what's going to happen with this line, just like we seen what happened with Cain's line or Cain's lineage. All right. So now Canaan became the father of Sidon, his firstborn, Heth, the Jebusites, the Amorites. Now these are a group of people, and Canaan is the father of these group of people, or these nations. Remember these: the Jebusites, the Amorites, the Girgashites, the Hivites, the Arkites, the Sinites, the Ardvadites, the Zemarites, and the Canaanites were spread abroad. So all these people came from Canaan. And as they came from Canaan, they began to spread abroad. And if you look at Bibles or maps in old biblical times, you will see where these nations are, how they were spread out. And again, this is how God begins to spread and repopulate the earth, because these people, these men, begin to have kids, begin to have more kids and grandkids and great grandkids, and it continues on, and continues on to help spread their nation. So the border of the Canaanites was from Sidon as you go toward Gerar to Gaza, as you go toward Sodom, Gomorrah, Admah, and Zeboim, Elisha. These are the sons of Ham after their families, according to their languages in their lands and their nations. Now, if you go on maps and you compare the old maps to new maps and do an overlay and see what lands the families of Ham, you would, if you could see what nations these are today, what lands these are today, what type of group of people are in these lands today, it will all begin to make sense as to why things are the way that they are. So children were also born to Shem, the third brother, the elder brother of Japheth. Remember, Japheth was to dwell in tents of Shem. Shem was a good one. All right. The father of the children of Eber. The sons of Shem were Elam, Ashur, Apakshad, Lud, and Amram. The sons of Amram were Uz, Hul, Geter, and Mash. Arpachshad became the father of Shelah. Shelah became the father of Eber. To Eber were born two sons. The name of the one was Peleg, for in his days the earth was divided. His brother's name was Joktan. Joktan became the father of Armadad, Shelef, Hazamareth, Hazamaretheth, Jerah, Hadaram, Uzzah, Delka, Obah, Abimael, Sheba, Ophir, Havilah, and Jobab. All right, it's a lot there. Their dwelling extended to Mesha as you go toward Sephar, the mountain east. These are the sons of Shem by their families according to their languages, lands, and nation. These are the families of the sons of Noah by their generations according to their nations. The nation divided from these in the earth after the flood. So now Noah has this long lineage now, and nations are being brought to light or being birthed from the lineage of Noah as they spread out. The sons of Shem, Ham, and Japheth, the great grandsons, and all things going on. So there's a lot happening. But then you may sit here and be like, wait a minute. If they're continuing to spread the earth or continue to repopulate the earth, then they had to be with cousins and other people that are in their own lineage or in their own bloodline in order to do so. Yes, that happened. That happened during that time, and it was happening quite a lot. But it was one of those things where there was a purpose for it. There was a cause for it, and that cause was to repopulate the earth. Now, as we go on to Genesis 11, the whole earth was one language and one speech. Now we're dealing with a time where everyone spoke the same language. So everyone was able to understand each other, and you have to get it where, yeah, they all were family. So yes, they all spoke the same language, which means that one person in charge is able to communicate with everyone, or whoever's in charge of whatever nation or whatever city or whatever, the governors or whatever at that time was able to communicate effectively with the other nations. So as they traveled from the east, they found a plain in the land of Shinar. I want you to remember who had this place, and they lived there. They said to one another, "Come, let's make bricks and burn them thoroughly." They had brick for stone, and they used tar for mortar. They said, "Come, let's build ourselves a city and a tower whose top reaches to the sky. And let's make a name for ourselves. Let we be scattered abroad on the surface of the whole earth." So now this seems like this is one point where it seems like one person is one group of people here are trying to take over the world here, the whole surface, because they want the surface to see how great this city is and how they build it. And so if we all speak the same language and we see that one city is being uh I don't want to put it more prosperous or have more prosperity than others, then you're going to wonder what they're doing, and you may even fall into um, trying to go to that city and become a part of it because you see what they're doing. They have more than what you have in yours. So come on. The Lord came down to see the city and the tower which the children of men built. And the Lord said, "Behold, they are one people, and they all have one language. And this is what they begin to do. Now, nothing will be withheld from them, which they intend to do." Because they're able to speak and able to understand, these people had come together to do we would call it a great thing, but God is not calling it a great thing, and there's a reason behind it. All right. And so 11 and 7 says, "Come, let's go down there and there, confuse their language, that they may be not able to understand one another's speech." Now, this is where the name Nimrod comes in, because Nimrod at this time was in charge. He was the one who ordered this to happen, this tower. He ordered for this tower to be built, and since he was able to have so much influence over all these people, and they actually listened to what he said, God says, "Hold on, we have a problem here." The problem is that now all these people are able to talk, and they're able to get along and come up with a plan to be able to build this tall tower, trying to get to the heavens. And so God says, "Wait a minute, let me throw a curveball." And as he threw this curveball, he now began to confuse the language against people who were just able to communicate with each other. Can you imagine this? You're speaking with someone, you're communicating greatly, you're having a great conversation, and then all of a sudden, one person starts speaking a different language. And we can see that today. I mean, the many different languages that we have, especially if you recently try to call for customer service or whatever, you have to press one for English and two for Spanish or whatever. There's many different languages out there. And who can we thank for this? Looks like our buddy Nimrod and the people who were building the tower. So now God does that, and now they're not able to communicate with each other, and they're scattered abroad. They're scattered abroad. I mean, because I don't understand what you're saying anymore. So now these people go to different places And they began to populate the earth in these different places and began to speak different languages. And now those people are able to build a whole city or have a whole nation that speaks only that language. And it spread. And the earth is full of so many different languages in this day and time today. All right. So he scattered them abroad from there on the surface of all the earth. They stopped building the city. So this city had to stop being built. And that because now no one is able to communicate with each other to finish building the city. Therefore, its name was called Babel, because there the Lord confused the language of all the earth. From there, the Lord scattered them abroad on the surface of all the earth. We have that program. If you go into a different country or whatever, there's a app, I think it is, where you can go on, and it's called Babel, and it's to teach the different languages of wherever you're going. You want to learn a language, listen to Babel, and it teach you how to speak that language. And they got that name simply from here, the Bible. All right. This is the history of the generations of Shem. Shem was 100 years old when he became the father of Arpachshad, 2 years after the flood. And now we're going back through this again. And Shem lived 500 years after he became the father of Arpachshad and became the father of more sons and daughters. This is the common theme wording when it comes to explaining lineage or generations right here in the book of Genesis, as this happened before when it came to Noah and Cain's sons and Seth's sons. Talked about, and they had more sons and daughters. All right. So Arpachshad lived 35 years and became the father of Shelah. Arpachshad lived 403 years after he became the father of Shelah and became the father of, guess what? More sons and daughters. Shelah lived 30 years and became the father of Eber. Shelah lived 403 years after he became the father of Eber and became the father of more sons and daughters. Eber lived 34 years and became the father of Peleg. Peleg lived, or Eber lived, 430 years after he became the father of Peleg and became the father of more sons and daughters. Peleg lived 30 years and became the father of Reu. Peleg lived 209 years after he became the father of Reu and became the father of more sons and daughters. Reu lived 32 years and became the father of Serug. Reu lived 207 years after he became the father of Serug and became the father of more sons and daughters. Serug lived 30 years and became the father of Nahor. Serug lived 200 years after he became the father of Nahor and became the father of more sons and daughters. So I'm going through this because I'm going to get through something here real quick. And Nahor lived 29 years and became the father of Terah. Now we're getting somewhere. Nahor lived 119 years after he became the father of Terah and became the father of more sons and daughters. Terah lived 70 years and became the father of Abram, Nahor, and Haran. Now, this is the generations of Terah. Terah became the father of Abram, Nahor, and Haran. Haran became the father of Lot. Haran died in the land of his birth in Ur Kasdim, who his father Terah was still, while his father Terah was still alive. Abram and Nahor married wives. The name of Abram's wife was Sarai, and the name of Nahor's wife was Milcah, the daughter of Haran, who was also the father of Iscah. Sarai was barren. Sarai was barren. She had no child. Terah took Abram, his son, Lot, the son of Haran, his son's son, and Sarai, his daughter-in-law, his son Abram's wife. They went from Kasdim to go into the land of Canaan. They came to Haran and lived there. The days of Terah were 205 years. Terah died in Haran. Now, I want you to understand something here. Many of our Bibles will say they went from the of Chaldees. This was in the area of Mesopotamia, because we see Abram, we know he later becomes known as Abraham, and he begins to birth many, you all know the Sunday school song. So, and he moves, and they're moving into the land of Canaan. But there's a reason why this is happening. There was an order given from God, and we will get to that next week. And we will begin to see things begin to progress now, and action begin to take place. And as action begins to take place, we begin to understand things more clearly as we truly go through this Bible. But to end off of this lesson, I want to talk about the Noahic covenant real quick, because there were some things here that happened that we truly need to remember, that this was a covenant between mankind at that point in time, and all the animals in the earth, and God. And so these promises was ready to reinstate what God had done for man during the times of Eden. Remember, in the times of Eden, God gave man dominion over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the air, and over the animals of the land, and every creeping thing and everything else. God gave them authority. As the fall began to happen, we began to see things change. But as things began to change, now man became evil when the sons of God, which were the angels, began to marry and take unto wives the daughters of men. And they had children. As they had children, they became known as the giants or the Nephilim. But these angels were supposed to be watchers over men. But instead of being watchers over men, they began to admire and love what they saw. The lust of the eye begins to happen. And we will get to that later on too. And as the lust of the eye begins to happen, now the lust of the flesh begins to happen, because they begin to love the flesh of the daughters of man. So they had children known as the Nephilims, but these Nephilims were so devastating and so destructive that they began to create or have much evil going on within their lives, and killing and everything else. And now God, seeing all of this happen, decides that, oh man, I need to start over. But instead of him just completely starting over, he finds a righteous man in Noah and his sons, and he spares Noah and his sons, and he spares a set, and there were 7 of the clean and 2 of the unclean. He spares their life, and this is his way of starting over. So as he does it, he makes a promise for them, and there are many promises that he has. So then now he begins to tell them to be fruitful and multiply. This is the part of the covenant. This is what they must do simply because this is what God is telling them to do. Let me remove scripture from screen real quick as we begin to wrap up. So this is what they begin to do: procreate, have children, and all types of things. They rule over the creature. This is the first time that man is able to eat meat. Remember, they have to eat meat, but there cannot be any blood. They must not partake of the blood because the blood is the life of the animal. So there must not be any blood in it, which means they needed to thoroughly cook their food. So as they do that, understand that now earth is preserved from the curse. There will no longer be a flood. There was a rainbow as a sign of the covenant. Watch this. The covenant between one man and God, and the earth and God, and every creeping thing, living being, species, whatever. This was the covenant that God saw the rainbow as something that was good, and creatures are preserved from annihilation because if these things happen, um, man must take order. This is when God sets the four seasons, and He sets winter, spring, summer, fall. He sets the warmth and the cold. He sets the day and the night will not cease, and seed, time, and harvest. These things will always remain. Remember, He says that these things will always remain. So now these are the things that we have. So now, as we continue, there has to be faith and there has to be obedience. One, you have to have faith in God in order to do what He's telling you to do. Two, there is no written law. These are the laws that are placed within the heart of a man. These are things that are, as we call it, the tablets of the heart, which says that one, you must not kill another man. Because if you kill another man, then your punishment will be death. To shed blood means your blood needs to be shed. So the thing of killing, it cannot happen, or you will suffer what we now call capital punishment. It cannot happen. And these are the things of the Noahic covenant. And I know I went through that kind of quick, but we're running out of time here. So that was a quick review of everything that we talked about today. And that was chapters 9, 10, and 11 of our Bible. All right. So thank you so much for tuning in this week into the Sunday Supper. And I thank you so much. I pray that you receive something out of this that you never knew before. I pray that you will continue to tune in and learn more of what the Bible has in store. So for Sunday Supper, I want to say again, thank you. I'm humbled by you tuning in, because here at Sunday Supper, there is always room for you at the table. And always remember to live your life on purpose. Be blessed, everyone. Have a great one. See you soon.